So hi, welcome to Teen Yoga 4. So I'm going to be working in this angle today. So if you want to make sure your mat's turned so that long edge faces your camera, so you've got a good view of your camera or your video in front of you rather than it being at your long edge of the mat. I've got a block here if you want to get yourself a book. All that does is it brings the floor up a little closer to the hands when we're doing our wide leg forward folds. I've also got a block there which can be to bring the hand closer to the floor. You may need it, you may not. So if you haven't got the blocks, use books. I've also got myself some water, so we're all ready to go. So come into sitting on your knees with the feet underneath your bum, the hands on top of the thighs. Take a breath in. Roll the shoulders up towards the ears. Take a breath out, relax those shoulders back down towards the hips. Take a close of the eyes or a soft gaze down towards the floor, whichever suits you. Grow nice and tall through the spine, through the crown. Keep those shoulders relaxed down. And just take a moment here just to scan that body from the top of the head down to the fingers, down to the toes. Just checking in with how your body feels as you've arrived on this mat. Noticing how those shins are pushing into the floor, the tops of the feet pushing into the floor, unless you have your toes tucked under, whichever feels most comfortable for you right now. We'll just be staying here for a few moments, checking in that whole body. Then bring the focus, after you've done a check-in with the body, to the breath. And just notice how you're breathing, whether it's in through the nose and out through the mouth, whether it's in and out through the nose, whether it's in and out through the mouth. Just noticing for a moment. And where are those breaths being sent? Are they high up into the chest, into the lower ribs, or are you already breathing into the belly? Again, just notice, make no judgment, just being aware of how deep you're taking that breath into the body. Still relaxing the shoulders, but still being tall through the spine, through that crown. Then start to take those breaths a little deeper, taking it longer to breathe that breath in. Try and use the nose now rather than the mouth. And taking a long breath out through the nose as well. Keeping those mouths closed, taking an audible sound in the back of the throat, as though it sounds like the ocean or that Darth Vader kind of sound. That slight hum at the back of the throat. Then opening the eyes, just bring the hands down to the floor and take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. Do that a few times in that rotation of the shoulders in one direction. And then take that rotation the other way, so bringing the shoulders back and up and then down towards the floor. So we've taken it one direction and now we're taking those shoulder rolls in the other. And then bring those shoulders to stillness. So bringing your right hand onto the left knee and the left hand behind and twist through the waist. Bring it to the other side. This time your left hand to the right knee, the right hand behind and twist to the right. So I'll be mirror imaging you the whole way throughout this practice. Bring the shoulders back to the center. Lift the arms up towards the ceiling. Interlace the fingers, take lateral flexion over to that left side. Bring it back into the centre, take lateral flexion over to the right side. Bring those hands back to the centre, then bring the palms forward. So if palms are facing in towards you, and then send the back towards the back of the room. So we take flexion through that spine. And then grow tall again through the spine. Bring the hands behind, interlace the fingers at the bum. Push the hands down to the floor, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and then push those ribs forward. So we take that back into extension. A good width through the front side of the chest. Keep pushing those shoulders down towards those hips. Then release, back it out. Come up onto the knees. Have the knees together, feet together. Tuck the toes under. So I'm just going to turn around to give you a side view here. But if you still stay facing forward, release those hands at the back. Bring them into the base of the spine. Push those hips forward. Then lift that chest, maybe lift that gaze. Hold it here just for another couple of breaths. Squeezing the shoulder blades together, drawing those elbows closer towards one another. And then bring those backs back up straight for a breath. So this time we're going to push those hips forward again, lift the chest, take it into a back bend. So you can either stay here or bring that left hand onto that left heel and raise that right hand up to the ceiling. Maybe raise it so it goes back towards the back of the room. Still pushing those hips forward, lifting through the chest, stretching through the right side of the waist, letting that left shoulder open out to give some space through the front left side of the chest. Then bring that right hand back down to the base of the spine. Bring the left hand to join the right. Bring those shoulders back over those hips. Just release the arms, just give them a little pat, shake. And then bring those hands back behind the back. Again, you can stay just by pushing the hips forward, lifting the chest if this feels more comfortable for you. If you're coming with me, bring your right hand this time towards the right heel if it reaches. Raise the left hand to the ceiling and then send that left hand back. So we get a full stretch through the front side of the body and a contraction through the back of the body. Holding yourself nice and strong by squeezing the glutes. Then lift that left hand back up, bring it back to the lower back. Bring the right hand to meet the left. Lift those shoulders back over those hips. Untuck the toes, bring that chest over those thighs. Foreheads to the mat and just allow that body to fold. Maybe bring the top of the head onto the mat, tucking that chin into the chest, maybe holding onto those heels of the feet. And then if you wish, just lift those bums away from the heels, just to stretch that lower spine, taking it into a counter pose to those back bends. Then bring those bums back to the heels. You're still facing that short edge of the, long edge of the mat, and I'm bringing myself back around. Bring the shoulders over the hips. Bring yourself up onto those feet. Widen the feet as wide as you can to the edges of the mat. Toes in front of the heels, pushing into the outsides of the feet. Maybe this is where you're going to use this block, bringing those floors a little closer to the hands. So we're bringing ourselves into a half fold, wide leg fold. So lifting up those tailbones, feel like you're drawing those tailbones higher. If those hamstrings are a little tight, take a micro bend in those knees just to soften off those hamstring stretches. Try and lift up the chest, lift the gaze towards the front of the room. Pushing into those hands for support. Taking that first hamstring stretch, maybe want to bend in and out of flexion and extension with the legs just to warm those hamstrings up slightly. And then in a couple of moments, after a couple of more flexes, maybe bring those legs a little straighter. And then allow that body to fold over those legs, just bringing those hands and heads down to wherever they reach. So you may be quite high up here if you've not got that good stretch of posterior chain of muscles, those back muscles. Maybe your heads are coming all the way down to the floor and the hands are reaching the floor. But just work with where you are. It may be quite high, like I said, but the aim is to try and bend through those hips rather than arching that lower back. Then start to bend the knees a little bit more. Bring the hands onto the hips, curl up through that spine, bringing yourself all the way up to standing. And as you arrive in standing, roll the shoulders back. So we're going to take our first pose to your left side. So turn those left toes towards the short edge of the mat And we're going to find warrior two. So the arms come out to shoulder height and we bend in towards that left knee. We tuck under the bums, we draw the bellies back, we grow through the spines, we grow through the crowns. That left knee turns out, so we're pushing that left knee to the back of the mat, the hips to the front of the mat, and the shoulders stacking on top of those hips. So we feel a stretch on the inside of that thigh by turning that knee out, and we switch those glutes on the outside of that left hip to help that knee out. Push into the outside of the back foot. Now the quads should be engaging the front of the thigh, lifting that kneecap to keep that leg nice and strong. And we're squeezing the bum of that right leg to straighten it out. And the thigh straightens the knee. And we push into the outside of that back foot. Arms nice and level, shoulder height. Try not to have the back arm dropping, keep it in line. One more breath here. And then straightening through that left leg, turn the left toes back, turn the right toes out to the short edge, and again, sink into that right knee. So think about that crown, the centre of the collarbones, the belly button and the pubic bone, all in one long line in the centre of those feet. The arms are level with the shoulders. We gaze towards those right fingertips, all the time trying to turn that right knee out to see that big toe on that right foot, squeezing the glutes of that right hip. So we open that leg out with the strength of the glutes and we stretch that inside of the thigh. We maybe go a little deeper, so we try to stack that right knee on the top of that right ankle. If the arms start to fatigue, just bring them to the hips. If not, relax the shoulders, but let those fingertips draw to each side of the room. One more breath here. Warrior two. Then straighten back up through that right leg and turn those toes back in front of the heels. Bring the hands on the hips. Take a roll of the shoulders up towards the ears, back down towards the hips. And on your out breath, fold to a half fold. And again, bring those hands down to the block or to the floor if you can reach, with a nice straight back. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. Remember, you can bend those knees slightly if hamstrings feel tight. So keeping your right hand in the centre, bring your left hand onto the shoulder, turn the shoulders towards the left side of the room, and then raise that left hand to the ceiling. Maybe gaze up to that thumb. Try and tuck that right shoulder under, left shoulder back, gazing upwardly if the neck's happy. Pushing into the outside of the feet. Rotating through the waist, so we're working that digestive system. And this right hand is an anchor to help with the twist. Long, easy breaths in and out through the nose if you can use the nose, or use the mouth if you're unhappy by just breathing in and out through the nose. And then bringing that left hand down, place the left hand where the right hand is. Bring the right hand onto the shoulder, turn the shoulders first, rotating through that waist, and then lift up with that right hand. Maybe gaze up towards that right thumb. This time your left hand anchors the twist. It pushes strong into that mat. And we're straightening that top arm as much as you can, fingers up towards the ceiling of that right hand, and the palm down towards the floor of the left hand. Push strong into the feet. Really engage through those legs. Bend the knees if you need to. If you're hyperextending and pushing those knees back, just put a micro bend in those knees and lift those knees by squeezing those thighs. Then bringing that right hand back down to meet the left. Allow that body to fold over those legs. And let go of that neck. Let the weight of the head traction through that upper spine. Then bring those hands back to the hips. Bend into the knees, slowly curl up through that spine. Bringing it up with the shoulders stacking over the hips, the head stacking over that spine. Then we're going to turn again those left toes towards that short edge of the mat. And we're coming onto the toes of the back foot. We bend into that left knee. And we take a bend into the right knee, tuck the tailbone down, draw the bellies back, ribs and hips towards each other. Lift up the arms. Then if you're happy to straighten that back leg, straighten that back leg back out without flaring those ribs. Coming to our high lunge position. Maybe gaze up towards those hands if you feel comfortable with your balance. Pushing back with that right heel. Pushing into the floor with the left foot. Left knee stacking over that left ankle. Hips coming low. Bums tucking down. Ribs and hips squeezing together. Taking one more breath. In this position, let the shoulders be drawn down towards those back pockets. Bring the hands back to the hips, straighten through the front leg. Turn the toes. This time your right toes face the other short edge. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Bend into that right knee. Take a bend into the left knee. Tuck the tailbone down, draw the ribs and hips together. Then lift up the arms without flaring the ribs. And then push that left heel back. Sink into that right knee. Right knee coming over the ankle of that right foot. And really engaging through the glute max. Squeeze that leg as straight as it can go. Engaging through that thigh to straighten that back leg. Using the strength of that front thigh to hold the weight, the body weight. Try not to flare and create space here. Keep drawing those ribs and hips together. Arms reaching up, shoulders dropping down. Maybe gazing towards those hands. One more breath here. Then release those hands down to the hips, straighten through the front leg. Turn the toes to the long edge of the mat. Roll the shoulders and send them back down. On your next out breath, fold towards the floor. Take another breath in here. And then release the hands to a block. So maybe your hands are on a block or on the floor here. If they're on the block, we need to take that block over to your left foot. And try and keep both feet pushing into the outsides of them. We twist through the waist and we try and fold towards that left leg. So that might be that you're up here on the fingertips, whatever is working for you. But we're trying to take a contraction through that left side of the waist and lengthen that right side and fold towards that left foot as much as you can take it. Remember, if you're not using blocks, you can either hold on to that foot or place the hands by the side. One more breath in this position. Then if you're using the block, send that block all the way around towards that right foot now. Placing the hands down, contracting that right side of the waist, lengthening the left, and fold to the inside of that right foot. So again, if you're not using the block, you can use the hand on the foot or place the hands either side of the foot and fold towards that leg. One more breath here. Then walking the hands back to the centre and just allow that body to fold over those legs for a breath. Bring the hands back to the hips, bend into the knees, curl up through that spine. Bringing the shoulders over the hips, the head's on top of those spines. Turning the toes now of your left foot out to the side. Come onto the toes of the back foot. Bring the hands together at the chest. Straighten out that back leg, that right leg, pushing the heel back. Length through the spine on your inhale and lean forward on your exhale, hooking your right elbow over that left knee. And then twist the waist, turn the gaze to the back of the room. Try not to let your right hip drop down. Keep it in line with the left. Encouraging your left hip back and your right hip forward. Keeping a bend into that front knee, the one we're hooking the elbows over. Try and stack that knee over that ankle. Turn and twist from the waist as much as you can. Elongate the spine on the inhale. Draw the belly back on the exhale to give some space to twist. One more breath in this position. Then bring those shoulders back over those hips. Turn the toes. So this time your right toes face that long, short edge. Your back toes we come onto. We bend into that right knee. We breathe in, lengthen the spine, and then lean forward on the out breath, hooking this time the left elbow over your right knee. Breathe in, length, breathe out, and twist. Remembering the elongation comes on the in-breath, the contraction and rotation comes on the out-breath. Try not to let that left hip drop. Try and keep it in line with the right. Encouraging your right hip back, your left hip forward. The bend into that right knee as much as you can. Hips as low as you can take them. Long breaths in through the nose, out through the nose. Full rotation through that spine. Your right shoulder coming back, your left shoulder tucking under. One more breath here. Then bring that body back up straight. Turn the toes back to that short edge of the mat. Bring the hands behind the body, interlace the fingers. Push the hands down towards the mat, squeeze the shoulder blades together. And your next breath out, fold over those legs to a half fold. Next breath in, elongate that spine. And as you breathe out, fold that body over those thighs, keeping the tailbones lifted, maybe sending those hands up and over the shoulders. Remembering those toes are in front of those heels all the time in these wide leg forward folds. If those shoulders aren't happy with the hands lifted, keep those hands on that lower back. If those arms are quite happy up high, try and squeeze those palms together. So it just squeezes those shoulder blades together a little more. And we get a little more width through the front side of the chest. One more breath here. Then release the hands back to the back. Bring them down to the floor. Bend the knees and slowly curl up through that spine. Uncurling one vertebra at a time. Arms are heavy. And when you arrive back in standing, roll the shoulders back. So turning our toes, your left toes turn that short edge. Your right toes are still facing your long edge. We're doing triangle pose next, so the arms come out to shoulder height. We reach forward and then down with that left hand to the inside of that left shin, and the right hand raises up to the ceiling, gaze up to that thumb. Try and create some length through that left side of the body, so try not to collapse over that leg. Turning your right hip out, your left bum cheek under, soften through this front leg. Try not to hyperextend that knee. Take a little bend into that knee so we switch on those thigh muscles. Breathing long breaths, maybe gazing to that top hand, which will challenge the balance a little. Stretching down that right side of the body. Then reaching that right hand out to the side so we get a little more stretch through those rib cage, those intercostal muscles. Taking one more breath here. You could have used a block down in the inside of this left foot if you wish, one of those blocks in blue or a book. Your next breath in, lift those shoulders back over those hips, turn the toes in of the left foot, turn the toes out of the right foot. So if you're using that block would be on the inside of that foot. So taking triangle pose on this side using the block, reaching forward with those right hands, bring that right hand either to the inside of that right leg and the left hand lifts, or that right hand onto a block. Remember the block has three heights, highest, second lowest. Sometimes that makes you collapse a little bit into that right side. Still keep that right side lengthened. Lifting up through that left hand. Tucking your right bum cheek under, your left hip turning out. Try not to hyperextend in that right leg. Give a micro bend, switch on those muscles. Gaze up towards that top thumb. Keep that head in line with the spine as you're holding triangle pose. Pushing strong into both feet. Grounding and stabilizing the pose. Then maybe reach that left arm up and over a little more to the right to stretch through those rib cages on the right side. Breathing in and out through the nose, nice long breaths in, nice long exhales out. Then bring those shoulders back up and over the hips. Use these oblique muscles to lift that body up to the centre. Turn both feet back to that long edge of the mat. Roll the shoulders, send them back down. Breath in. Your breath out comes to a fold, half fold. Your next breath in lengthens the spine again. And your next breath out, maybe fold over those legs, releasing the hands from the hips and sending those hands down those legs. That maybe you just reach just underneath the knee. Maybe you come halfway down the shin. Maybe you come to the ankles. Maybe you can take a hold of the outside of those feet. Or maybe you take a hold of those big toes with the index finger, middle finger. Breathe another long breath in, lengthen the spine. Then as you breathe out, draw that belly back and allow that body to fold in between those legs. Using the strength of the arms to help with the pull and the stretch of the back of those hamstrings. It might be that you need to micro bend those knees again here, or you can straighten those legs fully to get that full expression of stretch. That back posterior chain of muscles going into full stretch and the front abdominals going into full contraction. One more breath here. Then bring those hands back to the hips, bend the knees, start to curl up through that spine, bringing those shoulders back over the hips. Roll the shoulders back. Heel toe the feet back together. Bring them into the centre. Bring the arms up to here, ear height. Take a bend into the knees, coming into a chair position. Tuck the tailbones down, the belly's back. Relax the shoulders, lengthen through the arms. One more breath here. And then taking the arms behind you, come up onto the toes, push the heels over the balls of the feet, holding it in chair balance, drinking bird pose. One more breath here. Then keeping those toes onto those toes, bring those bums back to the heels, bring the hands onto the thighs, lift up through the chest. Bring the palms together in the centre. Take a long breath in. Long breath out. Then release those bums back to the mat. Bring yourself and turn to that short edge. Arms shoulder height, and then slowly curl down through that spine, one vertebra at a time. Trying to keep those feet grounded as you slowly replace those spines onto the floor, shoulders and heads down. And then just for a little bit of neutralization through that lower back, bring the knees up to a 90-degree angle to the hips, feet 90-degree angles to the knees. Cactus the arms, elbows in line with the shoulders. Bring the knees and feet together, and then let the knees go over to your right side, your gaze over to the left. And just allow those legs to settle on that right side of the mat. Left shoulder is grounded. Plugging that left shoulder blade in towards the floor. Relaxing and holding. Let everything go in that lower part of the body. Let everything relax in the upper part of the body. Maybe gazing towards that left elbow. Then a little bit of core strength. Engage those oblique muscles at the side of the waist as you slowly bring those knees back into the centre, making sure those knees are at a 90-degree angle from the hips, and then with control send those knees over to the left and the gaze over to the right. Relax down with the body, the right shoulder grounded, the gaze towards that right elbow. Let everything relax from the waist down. Everything relax from the waist up. Then switching on those muscles at the sides of the waist to slowly lift those legs back to the centre with control. Bring the knees towards the chest. Give those knees a hug. Holding on to the right knee, letting the left leg come along to the mat. Squeeze the right knee in towards the armpit on the right side. Then keeping a hold of that right knee with the left hand, bring your right hand out to the side. Take your right knee over to the left side of the mat. Just try and bring it as close towards the floor without that right shoulder lifting too far off the mat. And bring that knee back into the centre. This time squeeze the right knee into the chest. Bring the left knee in to join the right. Keep a hold of that left knee. Bring the right leg out long. Squeeze that left knee towards the left armpit. Then keep a hold of that left knee with the right hand. Bring your left hand out to the side and your left knee over to the right side, the gaze towards the left side. And just let that body relax towards that right side of the mat, the left shoulder plugging in towards the floor. Use the strength of the right hand to encourage the left knee further. Then bring that left knee back in to the centre, then into the chest. Bring the right knee to join the left, squeeze it into the body. And then release those feet to the mat. Have the feet mat width apart. Turn the palms up towards the ceiling. Give a little rock of the hips. A turn of the head in one direction. Bring it back through centre, over to the opposite side. Then back into the middle, finding that comfortable space. Send the shoulders down to the hips. Relax everything to the mat. Close the eyes. Let the tongue drop away from the roof of the mouth. The lips gently part. Take a nice long deep breath in through the nose. And on your out breath, let it go out of the mouth. Let everything relax to the floor. Relaxing through the soles of the feet, the ankles, knees and hips, the spine from the base to the neck, the ribs and the shoulders, elbows, wrists and palms, the back of the head, Relax through the face, the cheekbones and the jaw, the chin, down to those collarbones. Taking as long as you wish in relaxation. When you're ready to come out, make small movements through the body, then slowly bring yourself to seated. If you're staying in relaxation for a little longer, have peace in your thoughts, have peace in your words, have peace in your hearts. From my heart to yours, Namaste.